Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is on how to make this beautiful dress with Basque effects. The videos by the size were my inspiration for the one in the middle. So if this is what interests you, ensure to stay to the end. So these are the materials I'm going to be using for this particular project. I have my measuring tape, my zip, the matching thread, my tailoring chalk, my scissors, and this is the beautiful fabric I'll be using for this dress. I got it from the market. It's about 2 yards of it, yeah, and it's a crepe fabric. So these are the measurements I'll be using for this dress. I'll put it somewhere on the screen, and you also need your elastic as well. I went ahead to fold my fabric into 4, that's the back and the front together. It measures 19 inches. The waist length I'm working with, that shoulder to waist, is 18 inches. I added extra 1 inch for sewing and joining allowance. I also marked 13 inches as the width. So the shoulder I'm working with is 16 inches, and 16 inches divided by 2, which gave 8. So I'm marking 8 inches there, and I will come down for the shoulder slants by 1 inch, which is what I marked now. So for the armhole, I came down by 7.5 inches, which is what I marked there, and that becomes our chest line. So I'll just make it in a straight line. That's what I'm trying to do, marking the 8 inches for the shoulder and trying to make it in a straight line. This is what I just did now. So after this, now I'm going to mark the neck. The neckline, or the neck width we worked with, is 4 inches, and I'm just going to slant it to the shoulder. After this, I'm just going to mark out the chest line, just to make the chest line in a straight line. So I'm marking out the chest line there, and I'll draw a straight line just to connect it to the armhole area. At this point, we have to impute our body measurements, and the bust circumference I worked with is 36 inches, and 36 divided by 4 gave me 9 inches plus 1.5 inches allowance. That's what I put there, which gave 10.5. I'll go over to the waist. The waist circumference I worked with is 28 inches, and 28 divided by 4 gave me 7 inches plus 1.5, which I just marked there. So I'm connecting it this way. And after making the connection, we'll now have to come to our neck area, and the neck depth I worked with is 3.5 inches. So I marked 3.5 inches there, and I'm going to curve it using my freehand sketch and curve it to that place. So after making a round neck there, I'm just going to go over to the armhole area, and from the chest line I'm coming up by 3 inches, and I'm just going in by ½ inches, and I'm just going to connect it this way to make our armhole curve. We need to mark our back neckline, and I came down by 1 inch for the back depth, so I just going to connect it this way. We already know the allowance I gave there is for the zip, so I'm just going to go out by 1 inch for the zip, and I'm going to go out by 1 inch all through and make a straight line there. After doing that, I'll go ahead to cut out all the pieces we have now. And for the neckline, I'll cut the back neckline first before raising it up to cut the front. So this is how it looked when I was done cutting. And to help the zip relax very well at the back, just like this one on your screen, I will come up by 1 inch, and I will go in also by ½ inch. So this is just a trick I use for myself and my clients as well, and it has helped me over time. From the side back, I will come in by 1.5 inches. That's the allowance I gave for this clothes, and I'm going to mark it there. Then from that 1 inch I marked around the zip, I'll connect it to the 1.5 inches there, just connecting it in a slant form. Mind you, if you're the type that your back is not so curvy, you can decide to come up by ½ inch and ½ inch inside as well. So after this, now I'm just going to cut out the ½ inch I came in. So I'm going to slant the ½ inch just this way I am doing now, and I'm also going to cut it out. And this is it for the upper bodice. I'll open it up and this is just how it looks. This also helped me to eliminate that. So after tightening the zip area, I don't need to put that. So for the down part of this clothes, I will drop the waist measurement, that's shoulder to waist, which is 18. I'll drop 17 and a half inch is to join into the upper bodice. So I'll drop 17 and a half there, and I'll mark the full length. The full length of this gown is 42 inches, but since we have ruffles around it down, so I'm just going to mark 30 inches where I measured from my shoulder to my under hip is 30 inches. So I'm marking 30 and a half, which is half inches is for joining the gathers to the upper bodice as well. So this is what I'm marking right here, and I'm going to connect it now in a straight line just this way, and I'll go ahead to cut it out when I'm done. After cutting it, this place becomes the waist. So the waist measurement I worked with is 28 inches divided by 4, which gave 7 inches plus 1.5 inch allowance, which is 8.5. So I'm marking 8.5 there, and I will drop for the hip. From the waist to the hip is 8 inches. You can decide to go for 8.5, 8 inches, 9 inches, depending on how tall the person is, but I used 9 inches because I was a bit tall, and that's the measurement. The hip circumference is 40 inches divided by 4, which gave 10 inches plus 1.5 inch, but I used 12 inch there, so I'm connecting it just this way. And I also extend the hip line to the down part, just extend the line down just the way I'm doing now. So I'll come down from the waistline by 4.5 inches. You can decide to go by 5 inches or 4 inches, 3 inches, depending on how deep you want the side to go. So I came down by 4.5 inch because I don't want it so obvious, like so up. So I will mark it there, and after marking the 4.5 inches there, I'll just connect it to that point. Before that, I will come in from that place I mark 4.5 inches. I'll come in by 1 inch and I'll mark it there. So the 1 inch will be the seam allowance, the seam joining allowance. So I'm just going to connect it this way, the way I'm trying to place my curve. You can use your freehand sketch to connect it, and just to connect it that way. But if you would like yours to be like this one, like this V shape, you just go like make it in a straight line to the tip. So instead of making it curved the way I did, just make it in a straight line. So this is just the way I curved my, and I'm just going to cut it that way. But before cutting it out, I will curve my zip allowance. So over to the zip allowance, I will go in by 1 inch, like I'm giving out 1 inch for the zip allowance, and I'm connecting it just this way. So remember what we did for the upper bodice towards the back zip. So this is what I'm going to mark here, ½ inch, and I'm just going to connect the ½ inch from the hip area to the ½ inch I joined so that it can match up with the upper bodice, and I'll go ahead now to cut it. So when I was done cutting it, this is just how it looks when I was done cutting it. And what we need to do next now is to join the down bodice to the upper bodice. But before we do that, there is this shape I normally give on the down part of my skirts, gowns, or any other down bodice. So I'm just going to fold it down like this into 2, and from the center front I will come down by 0.5 inches, and from that side front I'm just going to mark 1.5 inch for the allowance, and I'll connect it that way. So I'm just going to cut it out that way, and after cutting it out now, this just helps it to relax very well for the front area. So this is just what it looks like at this point. So you can decide to leave it, is optional. So I'm just going to fold it this way, and I'm going to join using ½ inch allowance. And for the back as well, I'll do the same thing, join the upper bodice to the down bodice, and this is just the way I'm going to join it. After arranging it, I'll head over to my sewing machine now and stitch it that way. And this is the outcome when I was done stitching it, and I pressed it down as well. This is the front for this dress, and you can decide to interlock it with this area, and this is the back for this dress as well. You can decide to weave it at this point before we continue this project. So this is the back. If you notice around the waist side and towards the down part as well, that 1 inch, half inch we took out around that area, this is just the way it is. So when we insert our zip, it's just going to relax very well at the back, and this is just how it's going to be. This method actually is optional, but it has helped me so well, so I would advise you try it out. So I'm just going to bring in the front, and I'll join it shoulder to shoulder. So I'll join the front shoulder to the back shoulder, and I will stitch it there. I'll join the other side also, and I'm going ahead now to stitch it there. And this was the outcome when I was done stitching it using half inch allowance. So now I'm just going to measure round the neck to pipe our neck. So I'll measure what I have around the neck from the back neck to the front and to the other back neck. So it gave 24 inches, so I'm just going to mark out something like 25 inches in length or thereabout. I went ahead to cut out a fabric that measures 1.5 inches in width and 25 inches in length. So I'm just going to stitch it around the neck. I'll face it front facing front. You can decide to interlock it at that shoulder part before going ahead to stitch your neck and this other side as well. So but for tutorial purpose, I'm just going to stitch it this way. I don't have interlocking machine yet, so I'm just going to sew it around the neck like this, front facing front. And this is the outcome when I was done stitching it. I stitch it, and what we need to do next now is we need to pipe it, like fold it back inside. So I'm going to fold it this way. I'll fold it one, and I'm going to fold it again, making it twice, just like folding it twice. I'll repeat what I just did now for some of us I didn't get it clearly. So I'll fold it one, and I'll fold it again twice, like 2 times, and I'll stitch it there. So I'll go ahead now to do this, and this is how the front is looking. So I went ahead to do it, and this is the outcome. I also went ahead to iron it to lay flat. So this is just the outcome when I was done stitching and ironing it as well. So you can also decide to use your bias if you are not comfortable piping it with the fabric, and use bias to turn the neck. So for the zip area now, we just need to fix our zip, and this is the zip I'm working with. I'm just going to put the zip there to know where the zip stopped, and this is where the length of the zip I want to stop. So I'm just going to mark 1 inch there, and I'll mark it all the way down. I'll mark 1 inch there as well. So I'm connecting it now with a straight line, and I'll go ahead to sew that area, but I'll pin it first. Then after pinning it now, I'll just go ahead to sew it before attaching our zip. And this was the outcome when I was done stitching it, and I fixed our zip as well. So this is it. I used 1 inch allowance to fix the zip, not minding the half inch we took away from the waist area. So this is just the way the zip relaxes very well at the back. So to make the down ruffles, I went ahead to cut out a material that measures 13 inches in length. So the material measures 13 inches in length and 77 inches in width. So you can make yours longer. So I'll go ahead to give it a straight stitch around there, just at the upper part. So I'll do that for this one, and I have another piece for the back. This is the one I use for the back. I'll also do the same thing. I joined it because my fabric wasn't sewn enough. So I went ahead to do the stitches, and I stitched it straight using loose stitch. I didn't tighten the mouth when I was starting to stitch, and I did also tighten it at the end. So you're just giving it a loose stitch. So this is it now. I'm just going to drag it from that one end. You can decide to drag from both ends as well. I'm just going to ruffle it that way from one end. I will do this for the front and the back ruffles. So this is me ruffling it at this point. This wasn't easy actually, and it took my time. You have to be very careful while doing this part so that your rope won't tear, because if it tears out, may just like starting afresh. So it's better you just pay close attention and be careful. So I did this for the front ruffles and the back ruffles as well, and this is the outcome. So you can make yours fuller than this, the ruffles fuller than this, depending on how big your material is. So after doing the ruffles now, I'm just going to measure the what I have at the down part. That I'll measure it from that point, just measuring what I have at the down part. So I'll measure it this way. So it's 30 inches. I'm just going to measure the ruffles as well, so that I'll be sure the ruffles correspond with the down piece of this dress. So the ruffles gave 29 inches, which wasn't enough. So I'm just going to open it up a bit, trying to open it up, like making it bigger. So I'll also remeasure it now, and it gave me 30 inches at last, and this is it, even more than. So I'll tight it now. I'll tie the rope there so that it won't shift from that position. So I'll tie it there, and also to the other end. I'll also tie this other end here. This is just the way I make my own ruffles, and it's easier for me. I've tied it there. So after tying it there, I'm just going to join it this way. Mind you, I'm doing the same thing for the back as well. So I'm just going to join it this way. From that end, I'll join it using 1/2 inch allowance. I'll stitch it all the way to this other side front. I'll stitch it to that side front there. So I'll go ahead to stitch it round there. I will do the same thing for the back as well, and place it on the back, placing it from that end to this other end, just the way I did for the front. And this was the outcome when I was done joining everything for the front and the back as well. So I used 1/2 inch allowance to join it, and this is just the way it turned out to be. You can decide to interlock it at this point as well. So this is the back look. So after this, it's time for us to join our dress. Yeah, we're going to join the side seams at this point. So I'm just going to come down from the armhole by 1.5 inch, and I'm going to join it from there down to this place. So I basically used 1 inch to join it. Yeah, I used 1 inch to join it on both sides, and this is just the outcome. You can try to use your accurate measurement, but I didn't want mine to be so fitted on me. That's why I used 1 inch. That's adding extra 1/2 inch to my measurement. So this is just how I joined it, and this is the outcome when I was done joining everything. At this point, you can go ahead to press it open, press your seams open, and this is the back of the dress, looking beautiful. So for the sleeves, I went ahead to cut out fabric, and it measures 22.5 inches in width and 21 inches in length. So this is it. You can decide to make yours longer as well. So I'll fold it now into 2. From that closed end, I will come in by 2 inches to cut the sleeve, and I'll go down by 4 inches and make it in a straight line. This will serve as a guide to help me cut the sleeve. So since we're not making a fitted sleeve, I'm just going to measure what I have there, and I'm just going to connect it from there since it's not a fitted sleeve, and I'll connect it that way to these other 2 inches I marked there, and I'll go ahead to cut out the sleeve at this point. I'll notch that part. It will serve as a guide while joining the sleeve, and this is just the way the sleeve is. So now it's time for us to just join it to the dress, and we are going to bring in this dress, and I'm going to unzip it, and from that center shoulder part, I'll put it, that notched part, I'm going to place it on that center shoulder part, so it's going to align with each other. And I'm going ahead now to sew it down there. But before that, I'm going to pleat it, like giving it a key split. I'll give it a key split at the center part, then go ahead to just make 2 pleats before joining it or to the other end. So this was what I did. I gave it a key split, then joined the rest of the sleeve. The essence of this pleating is just to add fullness around that shoulder part. So after doing this now, I'm going to join the sleeve. So towards the armhole area, towards the armpit area, I'm going to connect the sleeve to this other end. I'll connect it to the other end and I'm going to hem it, and I'll hem the down part as well, and do the same thing for the sleeves. And this was just the outcome. When I was done doing all that, I went ahead to hem the down, hem the sleeve parts, giving some inches for the elastic to pass through. So this is the place the elastic will pass through, and I went ahead to press it down. I did the same thing for the other sleeve as well, and the down part, I also hemmed the down part. See how neat it all looks. So to fix our elastic, I'll bring in this elastic. It's a 1/2 inch elastic, and I'm going to use this safety pin to pass our elastic inside this dress. So I'll pass the elastic inside the sleeve just this way. From that hole I gave, I'm going to pass the elastic this way and to this other end. So I'm just trying to adjust the sleeves before inserting our measurement, and the measurement we worked with for this sleeve is 10.5 inches. So I measured out 4.5 inches, that's 9 inches, as I reduced 1.5 each from my initial sleeve measurement. I'll go ahead to stitch it there, and I'll just use my safety pin now to hold it first before going ahead to my sewing machine to stitch it. So I'll hold it with my safety pin, and this is it. I went ahead to stitch it and close up that space I gave. Do the same thing for the other sleeves, and this is just how beautiful it is. So guys, our dress is ready and to be rocked, you know, with your sneakers, your heels. So this is just how beautiful the dress look, and so easy to make and very much understandable. So if you've stayed with me up to now, thank you, and I hope you learned something new today. So if you enjoyed this tutorial and you want more of this, ensure to leave a comment below, like, share and subscribe. See you in my next video. Bye.